Owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to say ahoy or land ho and not feel weird about it. So here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance offers access to the largest towing fleet on the water. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to say, shiver me timbers, and not feel weird about that either. Get more with Geico.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, you're running over, that's for sure.
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today we're going to be continuing Scorched, the State versus Scott Peterson, part 1,067. We're in the death penalty phase, y'all, and they just put on these witnesses that are blowing my mind, including the ones today. Wait until you hear what these people have to say about our superhero, according to all of them, right? Never raises his voice. Goes to orphanages and, takes in new people under his wing. Just a great, great guy. But I don't know if y'all saw, old Scott got his ass beat in prison this week, right? But he's never been violent, according to everybody in the world and everything else. But he had an incident where he got injured, right? So I'm pretty sure that's a little bit of the prison justice. Like, the numbers on this series keep growing every week, and people are still so fascinated with this case. Now, he did it to himself. Naturally, he murdered Lacey and baby Connor. He's convicted. But after all these years, getting the Innocent Project involved and having his own series and all that, and speaking out for the first time after however many years, well, guess what? You also put a profile, not his intended intention. You put not a profile, you put a new mark on your back that you're a baby murdering, wife murdering piece of shit. And so what happened. It is what it is. We'll keep you updated on it. So let's go straight to court. We get down to business. And we're on December the 3rd of 2004 in the death penalty phase. And the witness is Joseph Peterson. Now, y'all, I'm going to say Peterson. Pat Harris is doing the questioning, and Peterson, Joseph Peterson. Remember, this is not Scott. Joseph Peterson is answering the question, so let's roll with it. So, Harris. Morning, Joe. Peterson. Hi, Pat. Harris. As you are aware, this week we have been going through your family and some death. I'm going to ask you this morning to sort of just, some of this will be obviously reiteration. Just go through and sum up everything. We're going to move on next week to Scott's life after he moves away. I'm going to just ask you to kind of go through everything and sum it up for us, if you would. His life this morning, what your knowledge is of it is. Peterson. Okay. Harris. I want to start with the background. And obviously, we all know that you were a son of Lee. Is that correct? Peterson. Correct. Harris. And your mother is not Jackie? Peterson. Stepmother. Harris. Who is your mother? Peterson. Mary. Mary is my real mother. Harris. And Lee and Mary actually divorced when you were what age? Peterson. 7, 8 years old. Harris. If you would, I'm just about to take you through a little bit about your father and talk about Lee. And first, I would just like to ask you what you could tell us about Lee as a father. Peterson. My father is and has been a role model to me just by his actions, how he went to work every day, how he always had us with him, how he took care of us. When my parents divorced, he stayed close. He lived nearby, and there wasn't a day that went by that we didn't see him. He was a father that was always there, and that made the divorce less difficult. Harris. Did he install certain values in you? Did he work to instill certain values? Peterson. Yeah, we did everything together as a family growing up. We went to his business before he opened his business, and he worked as a terminal manager or trucking manager, and we would go with him on weekends. Harris. What kind of things would you do on the weekends? Peterson. We would, we got paid for cleaning. We would clean the bathrooms, sweep the warehouse. We'd check all the trucks, check all the blinkers and indicators and lights, and check the mileage on the trucks, and we'd go through each one. Judge. When you say we, you're including Scott? Peterson. Yeah, all of us. All 4 of us kids and my dad. And Dad would get the notebook out, take the notes as we'd jump into each truck and holler out what's working and what's not working. So we cleaned the place on Saturday so it'd be ready for Monday morning. Harris. Would you say you saw the strong work ethic in him? Peterson. Definitely. We didn't go for lunch or get ice cream or do anything until we were done with the day's work. Yeah. Harris. Did Lee also teach you the value of $1? Peterson. Definitely. Yeah, that's when we worked as children. That's how we were going about Christmas presents and birthday presents for siblings and friends. And they didn't give us the money to do that. We earned it and did it that way. Harris. As a husband to Jackie first, I want to talk about your mother. But first, I want to talk about Jackie. As a husband to Jackie, what did you see? Peterson. A lot of warmth, a lot of love, a stable environment, a stable home. She was a lot like Dad, and she would take us, all the kids, under her wing, and we would be with them. We did family things together. We weren't separated, and that was definitely a part of their marriage and the marriage that they have. And we could see that as kids was also taught us about relationships and how a couple should be. Harris. How about as a businessman? How was he as a businessman? Judge. Excuse me. Talking about Lee? Harris. Lee. Harris. How was Lee as a businessman? Peterson. No nonsense. Straightforward. He'll tell you what he thinks is right, what he thinks is wrong. Pinches the pennies and makes you accountable. Made us accountable as long as I worked for him and all the employees. Harris. You worked for him for how long? Peterson. I guess I'd have to say probably 20 years old, full time, so 20 years? Harris. I mentioned I would ask you about his relationship with your mother. What was that like? Peterson. It's a great relationship. My mom is everything to me. She's a lot like a dad. She's the type of mother that would have our lunches made in the morning, get us out of bed, make us make our beds, clean up, and do everything before school. Have our plan for the day, what we're going to do after school, and she would work every day. She never missed a day of work. Never saw her sick. Just a very strong work ethic. And that reminds me of my dad also. Harris. That was installed in you as well? Peterson. Uh-huh. Harris. How's the relationship between Lee and your mother now? Peterson. It's fine. It's fine. It's always been fine. Like I said, through a divorce for us kids, they kept it low-key, I guess, if you can keep a low-key divorce. There wasn't any arguing or struggles in that relationship that spilled over into, into us kids. No, I know today they see each other on occasions, they hug, and there's definitely a bond there. Harris. I want to ask you next about Jackie. She's your stepmother, obviously, so tell me a little bit about how she is and has been as a stepmother to you. Peterson. How far do you want me to go back? Harris. From the time that you met. Peterson. I can remember at a young age, 8, 10 years old, of being cared for by Jackie and being buckled up in a car by Jackie, of having put on an extra jacket. It's cold outside. Lots of the same characteristics as you would get from a real mother. And Jackie always gave us kids that warmth and that security of what we needed. Harris. When they were married, you were about the age of 9 or 10, something like that? Peterson. Yeah, I'd say 9, 10 years old. Harris. Were you nervous about your father getting married? Peterson. Yeah, I was. I didn't know. I was nervous in how it would affect, me. If we were going to move or they were going to, I don't know. Family dynamics, whether we were going to be split up. That went through my mind. Harris. Before they actually married, had you been excited to see her when she would come over? Peterson. Yeah, she was driving this little convertible, a red convertible. And we'd gone to some picnics with Dad and Jackie and some outings. And she would come by because she knew where he lived. I think she was going to a college nearby, and she would come by and take a look and see if we were around there. And yeah, we definitely got excited when we saw her driving up. Harris. Once they got married, once things had settled in, she had a son she brought with her John? Peterson. Uh-huh. Harris. Once things settled in, did she treat you and Susan and Mark any differently than she treated John? Peterson. Nope. We were all given equal treatment or attention. Yeah, there was never any struggles in those relationships as far as the siblings went. We were all cared for and provided for equally. Harris. How about what you observed Jackie as a wife to Lee? How has she been? Peterson. They've been solid. They've been inseparable. They've been like I said before, they've been a couple that you could admire through thick and thin. And that's what they've shown us. Harris. Was your life, I think we've heard some testimony that your life was essentially split between the two homes. Peterson. Yeah, that's true. Harris. So it was hectic? Peterson. I guess. Yeah. I mean, at times it could be, Parents want the kids on holidays at their home, and, that the bit of that goes back and forth planning and things like that. As it makes me think of those. We got older, we were driving, and we would, hop back and forth. But when we weren't driving, we weren't of the age to drive, Dad or Jackie, they would come pick us up, and we would spend the whole weekend at their home, and take us back to my mom's house Sunday night. And then they would come get us like on Wednesday or Thursday morning for breakfast before school and whatever evening events we had at school as kids. And we would see them. We'd see them during the week. And in the summer, those were the best of times. Those were because we could spend a week with them and a week home, and we spend more time with them and doing all the family activities. Harris. No matter where you were and no matter how hectic it was there always a lot of love in the home? Peterson. Yep. Always. Yes. Harris. Now, we met your wife yesterday. She testified that's Janie? Peterson. Uh-huh. That's my wife. Harris. How long have you been married? Peterson. 17 years. Harris. How did you meet? Peterson. Met her at college. We were taking a volleyball class, and an evening volleyball class, and I met her there. Harris. And have you had children? Peterson. I have 3 children. Harris. What are their names? Peterson. My oldest is Brittany. She's 17, and Zachary is 15, and Jacob is 13. Harris. What do you remember most about Scott being born? Peterson. I remember knowing that Jackie was pregnant, and I remember the talk around the house that there's going to be a baby, in our family. And I remember preparing for that, bringing boxes home and strollers and carriers and blankets and getting things ready. It was very exciting. That's all we talked about 2 months leading up to it. I remember Dad coming to pick us up and bringing us over to the hospital that day. I remember getting out of the car and running down the sidewalk. And it was one of these nurseries that was on the outside of the building. And so we're looking through, looking for Scott. And I remember probably Dad saying, that's him. That's the one. That's your baby brother. I said, that's him? He said, he's ours. He's mine. It's our baby brother. And I was turning to look at the people around me to tell them he was mine and ours. Harris. Were you, as Scott grew up, were you encouraged to help in raising him? Peterson. We all were. That was a big part of the closeness we had. We were all involved in getting Scott ready and taking care of him and making sure he wasn't getting into anything, like toddlers do. And we were responsible for him. Yeah. Our dad and Jackie gave us a lot of responsibility in raising him and watching him. March is Sleep Awareness Month, the perfect time for you to think about the quality of your sleep and how the mattress you choose can make all the difference. Avocado Green Mattress is committed to providing mattresses that not only help you sleep better, but also are healthier for you and the planet. Did you know that with the right mattress, you can improve your sleep quality by up to 50%? If you're not waking up refreshed and ready to tackle the day, it might be time to consider Avocado and their sleep-enhancing design. Cindy and I love Avocado for so many reasons. Not only are the materials organic and free of chemical and toxins, Avocado mattresses promote better sleep through breathable, naturally temperature-regulated materials, which is so important to our sleep right now. Did I mention there is a mattress to fit your needs too? Avocado offers gentle to firm to plush mattress comfort and support. Take their quiz to find out which mattress and comfort option is right for you. Avocado stands by their products too. They offer easy financing options with Affirm, sleep trials up to 1 year, and options to try before you buy. Head to avocadomattress.com today and save up to 10% on certified organic mattresses. Dream of better. Are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? I know Sydney was, and if you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now, found in our food, water, and even in our skincare products. These disruptors can wreak havoc on our hormones. Believe me, before Hormone Harmony, I watched Cindy suffer. Not anymore. Hormone Harmony's formula, made only with herbal ingredients, have reduced Cindy's hormonal symptoms, and it helps women of all ages. Then there are the natural hormonal changes our bodies face, such as menopause. While these processes are part of life, they don't have to be uncomfortable. The good news is that you don't have to suffer through it any longer. Hormone Harmony contains science-backed herbal extracts known as adaptogens, designed to help the body cope with stressors, including those chaotic hormonal fluctuations that can disrupt your daily life. Whether it's PMS symptoms like irritability and cravings, or menopause symptoms such as hot flashes and night sweats, Hormone Harmony can help with it all. Happy Mammoth, the creator of Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to improving women's lives by using only high-quality science-backed ingredients. They make no compromises on quality, ensuring that you receive the best support possible. This isn't just a supplement, it has become a phenomenon. Women are talking about it everywhere, with a bottle of Hormone Harmony sold every 24 seconds. And the most important benefit, women express feeling like themselves again. A sentiment echoed in over 30,000 positive reviews. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com. Don't forget to use the code RLRC for 15% off today. Harris, I'm going to ask you about, I know you had a chance to witness these, your brothers and sisters and their relationships with Scott. So if you would, tell us a little bit about Susan's relationship. I'll ask you about a couple of them. Tell me about Susan's relationship. Peterson. Susan is the oldest sister. And she lays down the law. She was the demanding of us. She's whatever was going on. We would take direction from her, and we looked up to her. We looked up to her, would listen to her. She has a motherly quality, back then, and that she has now. And it was a very good relationship. Harris, how was her relationship with Scott? Peterson, Scott was her baby. There's been times that, within the family, that Susan fought Jackie for Scott to bathe him and take care of him. And she took Scott, as her own, and wanted that responsibility. So she was driving at the time so she could strap him in and take him to the store. And it was I think it was just a great learning experience for her growing up. Harris, how about John? I know you weren't living with Scott and John full time, but what did you see in the relationship, that brother relationship, sibling relationship between John and Scott? Peterson, John is a carefree prankster, always smiling, always laughing. I'm sure a lot of that spilled over into Scott because John's so laid back. I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of John playing with his younger brother and teasing him and dressing him up like a doll or something. And just all the brotherly things that go on. Harris, when you married Janie, she obviously became Scott's sister-in-law. Did they have an unusually and still do have an unusually close relationship? Peterson, yep, they did right away, and they do today. Harris, what was the sort of connection that you saw? Peterson, they're both very open people. They're both very warm, and they both have inviting personalities. There was just an instant connection with my younger brother, with my wife. Harris. Your own relationship with Scott. You are actually the one who taught him to play baseball, weren't you? Peterson. Yep. Harris. How did you do that? Peterson. Take him out to the front yard and start out with a couple gloves, maybe a tennis ball, so I could throw it harder at him. And, didn't want to hurt him. So we would start off with a tennis ball and just do some toss it back and forth. And we worked our way up. Then he would take a bat and he would hit the tennis ball. Because if he hit it hard, I didn't want to get hurt by the hard ball. And we would spend hours out in the front yard of the cul-de-sac, throwing it back and forth, pitching it to him. I hit him a few times. When we moved up to the hard ball, I would throw it so hard, I would clock him, a couple times, and he'd get up and shake it off and go back to it. It's the kind of kid he was. If you were going to go hang with the older brothers, you had to show us that you were going to stick with it and keep trying. Harris. I'll show you a picture. As an older brother, you tease him. You didn't teach him to play football? Peterson. Did not. He bugs me to this day that I didn't teach him to throw a football the right way. Harris. Is that Scott? That is Scott. Peterson. That's Scott, yeah. Harris. Well, how old is he there? Peterson. I'd say probably 3. Harris. That is D9L-5, Your Honor. Judge. Got it. Harris. Did you also have the chance as you were growing up and working to pick him up at school? Those kind of things? Peterson. Yeah, I did all of that. Harris. What would you do when you picked him up at school? Peterson. I picked him up and we'd hit a 7-Eleven, something like that. Get a Slurpee or a snack. And then I was told to bring him back to the family business or to take him home or sometimes to a golf course. Harris. Were you happy to do that? Peterson. Yeah, definitely. I look forward to it. Harris. You mentioned he was kind of a tag-along little brother. Peterson. Uh-huh. Harris. You nicknamed him Trooper. Why? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. Why? Peterson. Trooper just fit. It fit what he was doing. Reminded us, me and my other brothers, of a military. Get there with the pack and do what we were doing and hold your own. And if we're going to play sports in the street or if we're going to go hike or build a fort, if he wanted to be with us, he was going to work for it. And he did so well at it that I just came up with the name of Trooper. Harris. You're also a little prone to teasing? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. Is that a Peterson family trait? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. As well, what kind of things would you do to him? Peterson. When we would go play tennis, me and my older brother, Mark, we'd imitate professional tennis players. And we'd come up with these outrageous serves, try to hit the ball at 120 miles an hour. And we'd put Scott on the other side of the court as a target. Put the racket up. He put the racket up in front of his face, kind of a defense mode. And we would, take shots at him. Harris. Did you also, we've heard a lot during this week about golf. You with him as he grew up on the golf course? Did he also try and keep up with you on the golf course at a young age? Peterson. Yeah, we made him keep up with us. we're hitting the ball 150 or 200 yards, and he was hitting it 10 or 15 yards. So we'd make him hit it and run between the shots to keep up with us. And he would hit it and just say, run, Scott, run to your next ball. We'll meet you at the green. And that was also big in the trooper nickname that we came up with. Harris. Did he, you enjoyed cars. One of your hobbies was dealing with cars? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. Did he like to talk with you about that? Work with you on that? Peterson. Yeah. As I bought my first car when I was 16 or 17, and he was excited about it. He wanted to go for a ride in it, and he was interested in every detail about the car. The motor, how big it was I going to fix it up? He would show me pictures of other cars and ask me if I would put nice rims on the car. He'd show me pictures of steering wheels that he thought would be a good idea to put on the car. And he always had cars around the house that we looked at, and we shared that. And that, as we grew, that was one of the things, as he got to the age of driving in cars, that we have always had a subject to talk about. Harris. What did he end up driving when he got old enough to drive? He had a pickup truck? Peterson. He had an old gray, just a gray beat up pickup truck, My kids would call it the farm truck. Just an old ratty truck. Harris. Did you also, when the family was kind of getting together, did you include him? Try to include him in things like football watching parties and Monday night football? Peterson. That was part of what we did. We're a big sports family. And on Monday nights, we'd go to Grandpa Peterson's house. And I guess I would have to have been maybe, I think I was 16, 17. Scott's 9 years younger than I am. And we'd gather there for Monday night football and have a bunch of food around, watching the game. And Dad always would bring Scott. And Scott would have a backpack full of books to do homework, and we would razz him. We would tease him and say, this is Monday night football. You can't study here, Throw those books out. And we called him the rookie. And we called him a rookie mistake because he would bring his books to a football game. We always had frisbees. Every kind of ball you could think of. Baseball equipment. Everywhere we went. We just, picnics and things and take it out of the car. And that was a big part of what we did. Harris. One of those things included fishing, right? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. You and I believe you told me that one of the things that sort of cemented your relationship was that you and Scott liked to go fishing together. Peterson. Yep. All of our life. Harris. You continue to do that up until recently? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. You would go several times a year. Peterson. 3 or 4 times a year. And when we both, he was there in San Diego and I was old enough to drive. I'd go pick him up and we'd go to a couple of local lakes, fish those lakes. As we got older, we kept that routine going. Even if he moved away, we would meet at a lake in Northern California, or we would pick spots, mostly up in Mammoth Lakes to meet up and go fishing. Harris. Did he start fishing at an early age? Peterson. Yeah, I would say 5 years old when he started. Judge. What's that number? Harris. I'm sorry, that is D9L1. Harris. How old is he there, do you think? How old? Peterson. I'd say probably 3 or 4. He always loved being around the water. being on the shoreline. Just loved it. All the way from getting toy fishing poles at a young age. He liked fishing more than we did. He was an initiator in getting the parents to take us, or me, to come and get him and take him. Harris. Was when you would go fishing with him as he got older, was he sort of a unconventional fisherman? Peterson. Yeah, he would try new things around whatever lake or stream we were at. He'd bring lots of different lures, lots of different setups. He would bring a fly rod. I think that's what you call a fly rod. And we would all be fishing from the shore, and he would wade out further and would try fly casting. Harris. This was also something, fishing was also something I believe you told me that he did a lot with his mother. That was an activity that they liked to do together. Peterson. Parents, both Dad and Jackie would take him, and they would kick back and read the paper and drink coffee at the lake. And he would, like I said, he just wanted to be down at the water and he wanted to be fishing. Harris. Another Peterson tradition is hunting. Is that right? Peterson. Yep. Harris. And you do that a couple times a year? Peterson. Yeah, I'd say twice a year. Harris. When he was young, how did you start him off on these trips? Hunting trips. Peterson. Before you could get a license, like we all did, when we were below 12 years of age, we would go with Dad and my grandfather, and we would be the bird dog. We'd wear a vest, and we would carry the birds we were picking up in the vest, and we'd haul the water around, and we'd keep track of whatever dog we had at the time. So, hunter's helper, I guess you could say, is how we started out. And that's how Scott started out too. Harris. Did you eventually end up taking a trip, hunting trips, even as far away as Alaska? Peterson. Yep. Harris. Why did you specifically go to Alaska? Peterson. Well, Jackie's brother John is a guide and outfitter in Alaska. He invited us all and invited us up to go. And I believe we went on 2 occasions. Thanksgiving time to go duck hunting up there. And I remember one of those trips specifically because everybody went except Susan. Jackie was there, and we stayed at John's Lodge right on the bay and spent Thanksgiving there. Probably hunted like 5 days when we were up there. Did you know there's an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to target nearly every mood and health concern you can think of. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code RLRC. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you to the mood that you're looking for. Whether that's Mind Magic gummies for deep work and creativity, PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings, or their sexual euphoria gummies to help you feel ready for action and turn every touch into a full body experience. Look, y'all, I have trouble sleeping. I take the Sleepy Time gummy. I take a quarter of one before I go to sleep, and I sleep hard all night long. Never even move, wake up feeling fresh as a daisy. So listen, you can find gummies to just get you high pretty much anywhere these days. But Mood's functional gummies combine premium federal legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get into that perfect mood, usually in as little as 15 minutes. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, No awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code RLRC. So head to Mood.com, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood help you discover your perfect mood. And don't forget to use promo code RLRC when you check out to save 20% on your first order. We all know I love me some tacos. They're great every night of the week, not just Taco Tuesday. But Cindy really wants me to eat healthier this year, and Factor's chef-made gourmet meals have made eating well easy. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for my busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goal. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto, Factor has it all figured out. My favorite meal has been the jalapeno sweet corn polenta and chicken. Imagine a whole chicken breast marinated in lemon juice, garlic, and smoked paprika, grilled until juicy and topped with a zesty salsa verde. It's served over a creamy Parmesan polenta loaded with diced jalapenos, corn, mozzarella, and scallions. Bell peppers, red onions, and cauliflower are served on the side with fajita spiced butter. It was delicious and nutritious. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Harris, was he more, just ask you, were these kind of bonding experiences for the family? Peterson, yeah, the boys we had our own room. We had the lower floor of this lodge. It was a great time to be together. We didn't. We were out of our surroundings, school, and our parents were there, but they weren't really watching over us too much. And we did everything on that trip as far as getting ready in the morning and loading the boats up, loading the decoys up, and getting all the gear ready. That was more fun than, hunting was fun. It was freezing there. And it was so cold, we couldn't wait to get back to the cabin in the evening time and get into a warm home again. And we'd watch movies and read books and just hang out. Harris, are you familiar with a friend Scott had named Grant Ortmeyer? He wasn't on that trip, was he? Peterson, no. Harris, do you know why he wasn't on that trip? Peterson, yeah, I know why. Harris, why? Peterson, because he wasn't too safe with a shotgun. Harris, did he keep shooting Lee? Peterson, he would if Grant was hunting with you. I believe that would be dove hunting. You had to keep your distance from Grant. He could step to, maybe shoot too low or too close to you. And on one of those occasions, he shot too close to Lee, brushed him up pretty good with some shotgun shots, what we call it, Harris, I want to talk just a minute, show you some pictures, if you will. Tell us a little about what age and what's going on here and what your memories are. And first one is D9L-11. Who is in there? Who is in that picture? Joe? Peterson, looks like that's me on my eyes aren't that good. That's me on the far left. I guess John next to me, closest to Jackie. And then it looks like Scott on the right side. Harris, what is that a picture of? Can you tell? Peterson, I could tell she's reading a book, a Christmas book. Harris, that is the Night Before Christmas? Peterson, Night Before Christmas. That would be a book, that story that we would read on Christmas Eve, as Jackie would, or Lee or Dad would start us out reading it. Then each kid would take a page, read a page, and then pass the book on. And we'd go through the book, all of us kids, 1 or 2 pages, and read the book before we opened any presents. Harris: that was an annual tradition. Peterson: yeah. Harris: is that a tradition you continue in your family? Peterson: yeah. Harris: and has Scott come to your house with your children? Peterson: yeah, he has. Harris: had them do that? Peterson: yeah. Harris: this is also kind of a, you could see, light picture. What is going on in that picture that you recall? Peterson: looks like he's putting on some kind of a dance move, dancing. Probably something that Susan put him up to. Harris: is she trying to get him to dance around the house? Peterson: try to get him to dance around the house or dress up. Dress up in costumes and everything that a big sister would want her little brother to do. Harris: Scott usually willing to go alone? Peterson: yeah, he was good natured. He wanted to please us and get a reaction out of us, so we'd put him up to things in the house. Harris: 3 pictures kind of go together: D9L-7, D9L-8, and D9L-9. See if I can put them all on here. Is that the Creighton Company? Peterson: yeah, that's the family business. That's my grandpa in the background, Grandpa Peterson. And that's my brother, Mark, giving Scott a football play. We played football right there in the back. Harris: is that you? Peterson: in the back parking lot. Harris: is that you? Peterson: that's me. A lot of time there, whether we were working or not. Harris: and that's Mark and Lee and Scott? Peterson: yeah. Harris: D9L-10, do you know what that's a picture of, Joe? Peterson: looks like a birthday party. I can see John and myself and Mark and Grandpa Peterson and Scott and Susan, and see Dad in that picture. Harris: Susan on the right there? Peterson: Susan's on the right. Harris: and then on the bottom, in the green striped shirt, that's Mark? Peterson: I'm in the green and blue. Mark is in the red and blue. And John is in the bottom left-hand corner. Harris: that's Scott in the middle? Peterson: that's Scott eyeballing the candles. Yeah. Harris: is that his birthday? Peterson: I don't know. It didn't matter at that age whose birthday it was. He was going to get to the candles first, and probably the presents first. Harris: was he, when you say he tagged along, was he generally smiling, generally happy? Peterson: yeah, that's the kind of kid he was. He was ready to do, whatever we had out before us that day, and always with a good attitude, and just woke up in the morning contented and happy. Harris: D9L-3. Peterson: looks like he's hugging a tree. Harris: as a general rule, would Scott like to play outdoors? Was he kind of an outdoors person? Peterson: yeah, very much. We were. We didn't stay at home much. We weren't much to be home on the weekend, watching TV or movies. If there was an outdoor activity going on, whether we had to make something up in the front yard or the canyon, we would do that. unless our parents were going to take us somewhere. Harris. When he was young, when he was around this age, he told you that, you told me he was quite shy at the time. Is that accurate? Peterson. Quiet, smiling, shy. Yeah. Harris. Did as he got older, as you had the chance to see him grow older, that did change, did it? Peterson. Yep. Harris. When did that really start to change? Peterson. Probably, I would say, beginning of high school, when I noticed a change in him. Got to be more social, and more outgoing, and more talkative as far as what was going on at school. Talking about golf more, fishing more, cars more. Everything just kind of blossomed in high school. And I loved it because I had been there. And I'm 9 years older than he is. And I'd been through that stage in my life. And I really enjoyed that he would share with me everything he was going through or thinking about through high school. Harris. People told you that you are the most like him. Peterson. Yep. Harris. Two of the most alike. Peterson. I have heard that. Harris. Why? Peterson. I've been told that I'm somewhat reserved. I've been told that I'm confident. I've been told that I'm a good listener. Scott is a good listener. That we both want to please our parents. That's something that we both have in us as far as wanting to please parents, teachers, wanting to do the best we can do in those situations. And Scott and I are a lot alike. Harris. Do you have you told me a little story about one of your sons. That's Zachary. Peterson. Zachary. Harris. You have a problem occasionally. You call him Scott. Peterson. Yeah. Zachary is 15 now. And I'd say for the past 2 years, I will call Zachary. By mistake, I'll call him Scott because it's just, I see him and I see some of those characteristics in Zachary that I saw in Scott growing up. And I was called Scott Zach by mistake too. Harris. At some point, Scott went away to college and then ended up coming back to the family business. Peterson. Yeah. Y'all, then the court's calling for a recess. Harris. Joe, we left off. We were talking about Scott coming back from college in Arizona and working at the company. He was there for how long? Peterson. I would say it was like 6 to 8 months, that in between after Arizona, before we moved to San Luis Obispo. Harris. And was he employed there full time? Peterson. Yep. Harris. First of all, before I ask you about Scott particularly, what kind of labor involved in the business that you were in the Creighton business? Peterson. We move equipment around. We drive trucks. We move equipment, pick up goods to be packaged or shipped. We build crates and pallets and cardboard boxes to package items and ship them. So it's a full manufacturing moving warehouse. Harris. Does it involve a lot of construction work, labor work? Peterson. Yeah. We use every type of tool that a contractor would use to build a house. Nail guns, staple guns, hammers, nails, screw guns, drills, everything. All hand tools. Harris. When Scott came to work for your company, what did you have him do? Peterson. He was a laborer. He started out in the warehouse. We had him doing all the work in the warehouse that all the other manufacturers or laborers were doing at the time. And he was doing all the tasks from the bottom up. Cleaning, stacking lumber, sweeping, unloading and loading the trucks, forklifts, and he was a warehouse worker. Harris. Is that hard work? Peterson. Yeah, it is. Harris. Did he ever complain about it? Peterson. Nope. Harris. He later on, as you're aware, he later went on to San Luis Obispo and opened up with your father, a Creighton company there as well?
Between client meetings, managing your business, and everyday tasks, who has time to worry about website hosting? With Kinsta's managed WordPress hosting, you don't have to. They handle the technical stuff, delivering lightning-fast load times, enterprise-grade security, and 24/7 365 human-only support. Simply switching to Kinsta could make your site up to 200% faster. Kinsta's custom dashboard makes managing sites easy, with powerful features designed to save you time and effort. Plus, their free expert-led migrations ensure a smooth transition. Ready to see why Kinsta is trusted by thousands of businesses? Get your first month free at kinsta.com. That's KINSTA.com. Kinsta. Simply better hosting.
Owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to fling your favorite fishing rod around. And here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance covers your boat and your belongings. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to high-five someone. But not while you're holding your fishing rod. That's a prized possession. So hold on tight with both hands and keep it covered through boat insurance. Get more with Geico.
Peterson. Yep. Harris. Now, they had no employees. Is that right? Peterson. Nope. They just added Scott doing everything for the company. Harris. So the labor would have been done. Scott would have been the same one who actually did the same labor at the Creighton company. Peterson. Yeah, when I visited them, they'd go out, sell the job, get the job, physically package, remove, or crate, whatever they were doing. Yeah, it was a very hands-on business. Harris. But what you've seen Scott actually working, is he a hard worker? Peterson. Yeah. I was in charge at the time, and I think he must have been maybe 18 or 19. I was in charge of the shop in San Diego. And when he came to work, he was ambitious. He was young, and he wanted to do more than I wanted him to do. He was a go-getter. He wanted to drive the bigger trucks and go on the bigger jobs. And we'd do a lot of on-site work, so we'd do a lot of customer relations, and we'd meet the customer and design the crates, move for them, and he wanted to go right out and pledge into that and bring in more business. He was ambitious in doing that, and which is nice to have energy there because I needed somebody and, to help me. But I had to sit him down somewhat and slowly bring him along. He wanted to do too much, and I thought he was too young, to take on the bigger jobs. Harris. As I mentioned, he did go ahead and move on with his life and move on to San Luis and go on back to college. And why do you think he went on to San Luis? What's your sort of feel for it? Peterson. I think, I was running the business in San Diego, and I think we worked well together, but I think he wanted more. I think he wanted to eventually to be his own man, to be his own boss and start something on his own. That it's a family business, and he had ambitions about doing things on his own and had that somewhat independent nature, to start something. Harris. When he left, did you maintain contact? Peterson. Yeah. We talked on the phone all the time. We'd probably meet up 2 or 3 times a year, fishing or hunting, and we'd meet somewhere, in the middle between where we both lived, or he would come down, for holidays, come back down to San Diego. So we were in contact all the time. Harris. Did you actually, as he get older, did you become closer? Peterson. Yeah, we did. Harris. You're his half brother. Is that right? Peterson. Yeah. Harris. As you got older, did Scott make a request to call you something? Peterson. He started. He didn't make a request. He just started calling me brother. Harris. you had a chance to, as you were growing up and Scott was growing up, watch the relationship that he had with his father and you had with your father as well, Lee. Can you tell us about that? Peterson. My father showed us that we could, and that he could be a father and a friend. And as we got older, friendship between me and my father and Scott and my father was very close. And you know, we not only worked together, but we shared time together, golfing and hunting and fishing. Harris. Would you consider it a very special relationship that they had? Peterson. Definitely, yes. Harris. You said early on in your testimony that you have 3 children. Peterson. Yes. Harris. Brittany 17, Zachary 15, right? And Jake? Peterson. And Jacob's 13. Harris. Before he was arrested, how was Scott's relationship with your children? Peterson. On every time that we would either go up to San Luis Obispo or Scott would come down, we'd be together as a family. My kids would always inquire about Uncle Scott. When is he coming? How long is he going to stay? Is he going to come to our soccer game? They want to know his routine, what he was going to be doing when he was in town, as well as when we went up to San Luis Obispo. They were, they only saw him 2 or 3 times a year. So on those occasions, they were just intrigued and glowing about seeing their uncle. Harris. You mentioned soccer games and volleyball games. Did he go? Peterson. Yes. Harris. Would he frequent? Peterson. He had been to numerous soccer games for both my boys, and he's been to Brittany's. Brittany plays high school, or did play high school, volleyball and club volleyball, and that's what we were doing. And Scott was in town, he would come and they. Harris. I want to show you a couple pictures. Do you know where they were taken? Peterson. Yeah, that's a park in Del Mar, right on the ocean. Those palm trees that's right where the water's over, and that's a gathering spot for us as a family to have birthday parties or just dinners and just hang out. Harris. Now that Scott is, that one of your children? Peterson. I don't know. Probably. Yeah, I guess at that age. Harris. That would have been about right? Peterson. That would have been about right. Harris. Did you take Jackie and Scott with you on some of these fishing trips? Peterson. Yeah. Did they enjoy going with Scott? Peterson. Yeah. And again, I get the questions, the 20 questions of where we're going to meet him, when we're going to meet him, and when he would get there. We'd go to the Uncle Scott. And I was on my own when we go on a fishing trip because they, again, were just enthralled with him and who he is to them. And they would ride in his truck and they would use his fishing gear and they'd wear his hats. And, I'm surprised we didn't take everything from him and haul it home because they were, they were so close, and they are so close. Peterson. Harris. Did he end up helping you teach Brittany to drive? Peterson. Yep. When Brittany got her learner's permit, Scott had a truck at the time, and we'd take my daughter out and drive her around town and let her drive. Harris. How are they dealing with this current situation with Scott being in jail? Peterson. They, kids, they're pretty resilient. They're strong kids. They've taken it very hard. They can't believe that something like this could happen. They ask about how their uncle can be locked up, and they ask why would somebody think he can do this? Harris. Do they write to him? Peterson. What's that? Harris. Do they write to him? Peterson. Yep. They write letters and Scott writes back to them. I haven't read. I don't read their letters. I watch them as they read letters, and they smile and they laugh, and when they see their uncle's letters when they're coming. Harris: do they enjoy getting letters? Peterson: yes, very much. Harris: the question that we ask has been asked aside here that's going to be given to the jury deals with whether or not Scott is a life that's worth saving. You're as close to him as anyone. Is that right? Peterson: yeah, I know him better than anyone, at least as well as my parents do. Harris: can you reconcile that Scott Peterson you know as the person who could have done this? Peterson: no way. Not my brother. Absolutely not. Harris: if he is allowed to live, that will have some impact, positive impact on you and your family. Peterson: yes. If he's allowed to live, my kids and our family will still have some sort of relationship, some sort of whatever, however limited it is. Whatever communication we can have with him, my kids would be involved in that as well as our entire family. Harris: if he is allowed to live, do you think he could have a positive impact in jail? Peterson: yes. Harris: and on others? Peterson: Scott he's a person you want to be around in any circumstance. Like I said before, as a listener, as a talker, as someone who cares, he's just got so much in him to share that there would definitely be a positive. In our lives, there's no other choice. Harris: do you want to see your brother live? Peterson: yes. Harris: that's all I have. All right, y'all, concluding this episode of Scorched. Again, geez Louise, I wanted to say so much. I mean, what the... You're on the jury. Remember this. You've heard all the evidence. You've seen the dead bodies. You've convicted him already. Who gives a fuck if he taught your daughter how to drive? Who gives a fuck if he used a fly rod when fishing? Who gives a fuck if, y'all as kids turn on the blinkers in trucks and shit? I mean, it's just stupid. Scorched. I can't believe that they are doing this, and it just goes on and on and on. And again, if I was on a jury at that point, I would just absolutely slam him with a death penalty. But picking it up next week, next witness, I'm going to finish this by hook or crook. Evidently, you're interested in it. And thank y'all for liking and listening and sharing. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Saturday, July the 19th, my next live show. Tickets will go on sale. Patreon convicts, you're going to get advance notice, 48-hour advance notice. I think they go on sale the week after this one, y'all, but we'll give you all the information and everything else. Live, raw, and unscripted. Woody on the stage doing the old school cop shit. And LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, it's my jam. April the 8th, walk-ons, restaurant, bistro in Zachary, Louisiana, guest bartending, and all the tips come. I'll serve you a beer, take a picture with you, whatever you want. All the tips and proceeds go to the LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. And they're a nonprofit. They save lives every day. You don't have to be a lifer from Louisiana. You could be a lifer from Alaska. Just go to lopa.org, take 2 minutes, fill out the questionnaire, become a donor, have a chance of being a hero and saving lives. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to say ahoy or land ho and not feel weird about it. So here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance offers access to the largest towing fleet on the water. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to say, shiver me timbers, and not feel weird about that either. Get more with Geico.